Lonely Monk Productions. Welcome to Too Old, Too New, the music discovery podcast that brings you something old, something new, something Nate, something Bruce. I'm Nate Runkle, host of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast, and with me, as always, is my good friend Bruce Warren from WXPN.
Yo.
The premise of this show is simple. Each week, we bring you 2 songs apiece. One new song that's been metaphorically spinning our turntable platters, and one old song that we believe still absolutely matters. I like to put a little point on it.
All right.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm fantastic. Now that we're back together again for episode, what is this, the 3rd episode of season 2?
3rd episode of season 2. Look at us, just cooking along.
I'm telling you, it's like fucking Miami Vice, man. Just like bring us the cash.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I don't know exactly what that means, but it's sort of funny. It works.
The people will figure it out.
All right.
So we got some awesome selections here this week, both new and old. And I'm going to start. I have a little theme between mine. I don't know if you picked up on it at all, but one of the things that I really enjoy about music is when someone asks, or when you ask someone, hey, you like music. What kind of music do you like? And people 9 times out of 10 will say something along the lines of like, oh, I like everything except country. Or I like everything except hip hop. And to me, what that tells me is that they haven't listened to the things that they say they don't like, or that they're only bombarded with whatever kind of popular version of that thing is in the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things when people say they don't like country, what I find that they mostly are rejecting is this kind of new bro country kind of thing that I'm not really a fan of. I'm not gonna split any hairs here. I'm not really into it, and because a lot of it kind of lost the thread of what makes a good country song, all right? And there are a lot of brilliant country artists out there right now that I feel like, could use some more shine. Now, of course, that's new, but we're talking about old. So let's set the stage of, to me, just like what a good country song sounds like. And I decided to go with, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you a... Any Which Way You Can or Every Which Way But Loose fan?
Yes.
When I was a kid, those movies were my everything. To catch people up, this is the movie where Clint Eastwood was a bare knuckle fighter who drove around with an orangutan. All right, it's the absolute most bananas pitch, and it's the kind of movie that I miss. I just really miss movies that are just so like that was a cocaine fever dream that somebody came up with. It's like, okay, I got it. It's Clint Eastwood and a monkey,
right?
And he's a bare knuckle fighter, and he's fighting like neo-Nazi biker gangs, and yeah, it's just incredible. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But on the soundtracks, Clint always sang a song. So this one, actually not from those movies, it's kind of a side. I'm going sideways. I'm all over the place here. This one's actually from Bronco Billy. Another, Clinton had a very nice little country phase there.
Yeah, he did.
But
yeah.
So this one, to set the stage of what I want from country, is Barroom Buddies. This is Merle Haggard, and this is Clint Eastwood, and it's just a fantastic song from the Bronco Billy soundtrack. So let me play a little bit of it.
There's always some lady alone at the bar.
Yeah, and you always let her know just who you are.
I know a couple gals that we can call. Damn, they'll shake the picture right off of your wall. We're barroom buddies, and that's the best kind. Nobody fools with a buddy of mine.
I laugh when you're happy,
and I cry when you're blue. We're barroom buddies, and we're doing fine. So pour me another, we got nothing but time. Old chug-a-lug-a-luggin', barroom buddy of mine.
The best.
It's foundational. That's foundational.
You know what it is like I believe country has taken the Western out of country and Western, and that's one of the missing pieces. And this, just a perfect honky-tonk song, this sounds like a song that plays in a honky-tonk bar on the jukebox endlessly, or the band on stage is covering and whatnot. And do you know who wrote this song?
No.
Well, one of the writers, there's multiple, but it was written by a guy named Steve Dorff. All right, and
Okay.
not to be confused with Steven Dorff, who is
Right.
actually his son, I believe. But Steve Dorff wrote this. He wrote the theme to Any Which Way You Can. He wrote the theme to Every Which Way But Loose, the Glenn Campbell and the Eddie Rabbitt songs. He wrote Beers to You, which was on the one soundtrack, which was Ray Charles and Clint Eastwood, which is actually what's going to appear on the playlist because Barroom Buddies not on Spotify for some reason.
Okay.
But he also he's written for like Kenny Rogers. He's the guy who wrote Through the Years. All right. He's written for the Oak Ridge Boys, Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire. So like all of these foundational like 70s, 80s country stars. All right. But he also wrote the theme song to Growing Pains.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Show me that smile again. Yes,
I ain't singing that, but yeah, you're right.
But like, this goes back to my thing about sidemen from last week. I feel like songwriters. There's a whole class of songwriters who probably had their finger on so many things throughout your entire life that become these unsung heroes. He also produced a song for a soundtrack once. Do you want to know what that song was? That song was "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston.
No way.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so he was in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done some work. So
Yeah.
that was kind of I picked Barroom Buddies to kind of set the mood of what I kind of wanted to talk about, but also to give Steve Dorff just all of the flowers that I can because what a guy and what a career, man. And he's in the Songwriter Hall of Fame. So
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of information there, Nate.
I know sometimes I can't stop.
But I'm still back on Bronco Billy. You know, if I remember, I think the same person, I think her name is Sandra Locke,
That is her name. Yes.
right? What she was in Bronco Billy, and she was in Every Which Way,
That's it.
right?
Yep.
And was she in the other one?
She was. Yes. I believe so.
Yeah. Well,
She was
I think-
definitely in Every Which Way. I
Yeah.
think she was in
Yeah.
Every Which Way.
I remember Scatman Crothers was in Bronco Billy.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
I got my memory is probably almost shot, but I still can pick out a few details in pop culture from many, many years ago.
It's wild. You know, it's one of those things. I actually tried to. I tried my hand at screenwriting for a while, and I had this idea of like those movies, like those two orangutan movies, and then also like Smokey and the Bandit and all
Right.
that stuff.
Great
like,
movies.
Where literally it's just like, hey, charismatic guy, crazy situation, ends in a fight. You know what I mean? Like in a fist fight. You know, I wanted to write one of those, and I still might. It's still back there. It's still in the burner. Like it's on my mood board.
Well, it's on your mood board. Well, you're young, my friend. All right, so just I used to have in my office. I have a whiteboard, or I had a whiteboard because I've since moved out of my office. But I used to put all my goofy, crazy ideas on that, and I still always do. I keep a notebook with me. I've had a notebook by my side for about 100 years now, and I write down all the ideas I have for like songs that I want to play on the radio or albums that I want to check out. Like if I read a record review and I don't know the record, I'll write it down in this book. So it's good to have a mood board and to keep your ideas on,
Boy, if I could tell you some of these ideas I've had.
All right. Well, we'll when we do our psychology podcast series, we can talk about that. But how about if we move on?
Yes. How about you have a phenomenal old song today?
I have one of the greatest songs of all time. And it hit me last night when I was watching the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary music show. And I'm talking about it. Not only is it one of the greatest hip hop songs, but it is one of the greatest songs ever. And I'm talking about That's the Joint by the hip hop group, the Funky Four Plus One. And sometimes they were called Funky Four Plus One More. But they were one of the early signings on Sugar Hill Gang. and notable primarily because I think the woman Shay-Rock was the first woman MC in a band. And I bring it up because I saw their performance. It was a historical performance. And in fact, it's almost 44 years to the day, February 14th, I think, 1981 is when they made their debut on Saturday Night Live. And Deborah Harry was the host of the show, and Deborah Harry of Blondie, and Deborah Harry brought them. It was her suggestion to have them perform on the show, and it's just wild to look back at that time. The cool thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but the cool thing about the Questlove doc that he did was they actually had this great interview with Shay-Rock, like now. And I'll do a little forward promotion, but let's listen to this. This is just the greatest. That's The Joint. It's Funky 4 +1.
I'm Sean Rock, and I can't be stopped for off the fly. Guys, I will hit the top. Well, I can do it for the ones go weak and strong, and I can do it for the ones that are right or wrong. Well, I'm listed in the column that's classified. I can be a nurse, and I'm qualified to talk about respect. I won't neglect. My strategy is for you to see, so don't turn away by what I say, cause I'm bad when I'm talking to you. Therefore, fly brothers who could do it too. The party people in the place is just for you. So get down, get on down. I'm the plus one more and I'm throwing down.
She's the best female in this here town.
And everybody know that I'm golden brown, and you know
She's the joint.
The greatest.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That's The Joint.
That is The Joint.
So I haven't been able to see the documentary yet, but I do know a bit about that performance because surprisingly, Shay-Rock was pregnant during that.
I learned that last night. I had no idea because you can't really tell because she's wearing like a loose fitted blouse, you know. But yeah, that was kind of amazing to think about.
It's wild. She there was a podcast, an NPR podcast called Louder Than a Riot. And in season 2, they did Women in Hip Hop. And there's an entire episode dedicated to her that is absolutely phenomenal. I'll link it in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out, because you should. But it's a great story about her career and kind of, you know, how pioneering she was, but then also how exploited and not given the respect that she deserves over the years she has been.
Yeah, but it was a great flashback to that moment in '81 when they were on Saturday Night Live, and you know, there's no denying that song. It's unbelievable song.
The thing that blew me away about the Saturday Night Live documentary that I did see is the 7 or so minute clip that they put together, mashing up all of the live performances that they could. It is without a doubt one of the most masterful musical things I've ever seen. As a trailer, it's stunning. I mean, just across the board, blew me away. But it made me like long for the excitement of finding new bands on SNL. What's your SNL touchstone? Were you watching from day one, or?
Oh, I was totally watching from day one. 1975, I graduated high school, and my very good friend of mine, Mark, we get together with our buddies and our girlfriends, and we go to Mark's parents' house every Saturday night when the new season came on, and we get high as shit and watch Saturday Night Live. It was you know, for probably through college, because I lived at home during college, and it was just 70. I guess, you know, it's sort of, I'm trying to remember when I think I watched it through most of the 80s, you know, but there was a period where I just dropped out because I didn't think it was funny anymore. You know. As did many people. But it's pretty amazing. The documentary is incredible. On network TV, it was 3 hours, you know, obviously with the commercials. But the editing of that montage in particular is unbelievable. And they did such a great job at trying to squeeze in as much history as they could through clips and photographs. But they also cherry-picked I guess there were like, I don't know, 8 or 9, maybe 10 sort of small stories in which they kind of stepped back a little bit. And it was the Joe Piscopo, Eddie Murphy, Stevie Wonder skit. I remember seeing that in real time and just fucking laughing my ass off. And it was so good. So, they kind of go back to a lot of moments. I'll tell you, there was one, well, I don't want to blow too much, but go see it, check it out. It's pretty awesome.
The I was a huge SNL guy throughout my entire life, to the point where, like, even when I was probably way too young to watch it, I was staying up at night on Saturdays watching the whole thing, and then I would go to soccer practice the next morning when I was like in 5th and 6th grade, and I'd be like, "Oh, did you see blah 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 blah?" And everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, we were in bed.
You know what? That whole "did you see" thing, that has been missing from television performances for years now. Even now on Saturday Night Live. I mean, did you see? Yeah, it's sort of like, so I think because there was so little available for the public to see live performances on, they had 500 times the amount of impact they had, So, right, every day you read, like right now, every day you can go to any music website and read about, see videos, fan videos of crazy things happening, but they all become sort of normalized because there's so much of it on a certain level. But yeah, I remember, seeing Elvis. I remember seeing Fear when they came on. I remember Prince's first time going like, who the heck is this guy? Like, and as Questlove says in the show, this was before Prince was Prince, and and I kind of forgot how much jazz they had. I didn't remember Miles Davis was on the show. I didn't remember Keith Jarrett was on the show. So it's absolutely phenomenal. So Questlove, he's got the magic touch, and now I'm very psyched to see the Sly and the Family Stone documentary.
The Sly thing has been something that I feel like he has been working towards for his entire career. Like, this feels to me like the culmination of a lot of what he has involved himself with, what has motivated him, and I am absolutely stoked for that one.
Yeah.
You were saying about did you see or whatnot, and it's one of my things about culture now is that things don't go away anymore, whereas back then you didn't know if you were going to be able to see it again. Now things like you said, things happen, and it's like, oh, I'll send you a link when they post it in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, there is no fear. There's no, it's hard to drive demand when the supply is so strong.
You bring up a really good point, because I think one of the drawbacks, they make a point at the end of the show of saying how important Saturday Night Live was as a document of music and music evolution over the years, and it has become a great archive for people who are interested in music history. Yet there's not a lot available to the public. A lot of those things are like, you can't go to snlmusic.com and watch every fucking performance. Right. And so somebody's got to change that. It's sort of like, that shit is worth preserving. So we know it exists, right? We know all that stuff exists. So let's figure out the licensing issues and let's get it out there for people to watch, because it's absolutely amazing.
Even if someone can just do it and put it up on archive.org, that'll work for me too.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Like, I'll tell you, I said I went last week finally to see A Complete Unknown, and I spent my entire next day watching old recordings of Rainbow Quest, Pete Seeger's Rainbow Quest, because I was just like, well, that show sounds amazing. Yeah. And there's an incredible one up there of Pete with Johnny and June Carter Cash, and it's great. It's just the best. So why don't we keep moving along? What's your new this week?
Oh my God, my new is a name that some people will be familiar with. It is FKA Twigs. All right, new record called Eusexua. I think that's how you pronounce
Sounds
FKA
right.
Twigs.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I decided to make this song in particular my pick. This is the first FKA Twigs that I connected with.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't get it from day one. I didn't get it, and I tried really hard because everybody I know who's into music and whose opinions I trust were like, "Oh man, FKA Twigs." Just never did it. It just never connected with me. But something I decided, I've listened to every one of their albums, as they've been released because I've been, my aspiration is to fall in love with FKA Twigs. And I have finally fallen in love with FKA Twigs. This new record is from start to finish incredible. And, I'm going to go back now and listen to the previous records because what I'm about to say, there are elements of what I'm about to say probably on all of FKA Twigs' previous records, which is there are sounds on this record that like dance sounds, electronic sounds that I've never heard before. Now, granted, I don't listen to every single piece of electronic dance music that comes out, but everybody's always talked about FKA Twigs as sort of being like, futuristic R&B. Great, I totally get it, but the songs just never connected with me. But this one did, and I love this song. I love this song. Let's let it roll. Let it roll.
Here we go. Little Room of Fools for you.
Just bleeding out the pressure, and it feels nice. It feels nice. It feels nice. It feels nice.
It's a great song, and the whole album, like I said, from start to finish is really good. Becoming a fan of an artist that's been around for a little while and that was critically acclaimed and that a lot of people have a lot of love for, becoming a fan late in that kind of arc is a very interesting thing, because I'm talking to people now about FKA Twigs and they're like, "Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
FKA Twigs, of course." I don't know.
Sometimes you just need to find the key that unlocks for yourself.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how it fits into you. I've liked FKA Twigs for quite some time, and I'm going to be honest. This album hit me in a weird way, and it took me all day today listening to it to understand what it was. And it is what I will call the When Doves Cry thing, and that is there's a lack of bass on this album that it's almost like it's making you kind of do the work yourself to kind of
Interesting.
put it in there. It almost feels like it's run through a low pass filter almost at
Interesting.
times. And it was like, I know that it was a choice, and I would love to understand like what that choice was or what was trying to be evoked out of it. But it's an incredible album. It's strong Bjork vibes on this one.
Big Bjork vibes, and maybe that's why I connected with it.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of fucking Madonna vibes on this record.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally. Like, like Ray of Light. Like, come on.
For sure. No, it's definitely it's a good one. It's definitely one I'll be revisiting a few times this year.
I rarely walk out of concerts. I will tell you that in my quest to fall in love with FKA Twigs, I actually went to see the first time she ever played in Philly at the TLA. And I think I have this right. I went with one of my colleagues from the radio station who will remain nameless because we were both psyched. We wanted to see this thing, this people were excited about FKA Twigs. And we went, and like after a few songs, we were like, okay, we're out.
Oh no.
But now I'm dying to see FKA Twigs. Now I'm dying to see it. Anyway.
It's funny you say that because another one of those, I needed the key to unlock it, because now it's a band that I'm like a huge fan of, and like when I look back at High School Nate, I'm like, you just weren't ready. I was a big Meat Puppets fan.
Oh yeah.
And the Meat Puppets opened for Cracker. And like 2 or 3 songs into Cracker, I was like, what the fuck is this? And we left. And then 10 10 years later, I'm like, fuck, dummy. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I had a reverse thing happen once with a concert where I went to see Living Color open for the Ramones. And I was so blown away by Living Color. I had seen the Ramones before. I was so blown away by Living Color. I left because they were just, I was like, you know what? Ramones, okay, I get it. But
It's like,
yeah.
it's like the Seinfeld leaving on top.
Exactly. You know what? Wait a second. Okay, there is a connection between Living Color and Funky 4+1 that I just remembered. You know what that is?
I
do.
don't.
Do you know the bassist for Living Color? You remember his name? He's still
No.
alive. Doug Wimbish.
Okay.
Doug Wimbish was the bassist for Living Color. He was also the bassist in the Sugar Hill Gang, Sugar Hill label band, house band. And he plays the bass on That's the Joint.
Look at you tying things together.
That's the joint.
That's incredible. You know, I forgot to mention that that song is kind of sampled in one of my favorite songs of all time, and that is Special K's "I Got a Man." But I'm going to save that because that'll be a pick in the future because I have a thing about that song. That
All right, you got
I
a
love.
super cool new tunes.
I do. So my new continuing the country theme. You know, I was talking about contemporary country, taking the Western out and stuff like that and feeling less honky-tonk. Well, this is a goddamn honky-tonk song. This is a new song from Willow Avalon, who just released an album called Southern Belle Raisin Hell. It's one of my favorite albums so far this year. I know it's only January, and I already had, like, there's been a lot of good stuff that has come out so far in the past month. But this song that I picked today is Getting Rich, Going Broke, and it's a single from Willow Avalon, so let's hit play on that.
All right.
Still my heart turns blue, 'cause my sister needs a new dress, and my cousin wants party shoes. Getting rich means going broke. The more they take, the more there ain't no pennies in the piggy left for me. Every dollar that I make finds its way back home to my family.
That's good stuff.
Right? Like
That's really
like,
good stuff.
That scratched the itch of the thing I've been missing in country music. I know nothing. Prior to this album, I knew nothing about Willow Avalon. And like, you know, I do that thing where I listen to new music every Friday and I'm just burning through things. And the warble that she puts into her voice when she sings knocked me off guard. Like I just was not prepared for it, and and it carried me throughout the entire album. I just find her so vocally interesting on these songs that feel familiar but are, you know, contemporary as well. There's a song on the album called Baby Blue, which will probably be I can see it in my top of the year. Like it's going to be hard to surpass because I'm really into that song. Why didn't you pick it? Well, it wasn't a honky tonk, but I had an agenda that I had to get to. But yeah, if you want to hear some really interesting contemporary country, check out Southern Belle Raisin Hell, the new album from Willow Avalon, who's coming to town on Thursday, and I can't make it, but playing the Foundry. So if you hear this and you like what you heard, grab them tickets.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to try to go. I'm very curious. You know, I think there's 2 opening bands there, which is a drag. But I'm thinking about going. I may. You know, I'm very curious. She's got a great voice, and it's not produced like mainstream country music is. It's got more twang in it. You know, it's got more. It's got a little bit more Western or whatever the fuck it is in it. You know what I mean? Because I kind of skimmed through the record a little bit. So I'll keep you posted. Playing at the Foundry though. Yeah.
Check that out. If you Baby Blue. Hey There Dolly is the song that went viral,
right?
Which is a no Dolly Parton. And then my other favorite song on there is Yodelay Hee Hoo. which is a great little ripper. But it's fun, man, and like all these songs, of course, are fun, and they'll all appear on the Spotify playlist that we update with every episode. Will be in the show notes. You can also find us on the socials. Bruce is at Some Velvet Blog, and I'm at Yo That's My Jawn. Find us on the Substack, because the video for these are showing up on the Substack, complete with the music in between. Well, they'll get back up on YouTube at some point, but that takes a little more editing to not get copyright thrown at me.
So, Nate, the one super important thing that we failed to mention is that we're on the motherfucking road to New Orleans for the fucking Super Bowl.
Holy shit, what are we doing? Why did we not open with this? My God. How amazing is this? Like, I didn't think we were going to be able to, I didn't think we were going to have a problem with Washington, but I didn't expect to absolutely blow them out of the way.
Totally
oh my God.
Totally
it was incredible. And I do have to give a shout out and what were we doing? To the great Jalen Carter, who twice confused me, once by just straight poking the center on the other team in the eye, and then the second time by goddamn knocking his head off.
Yes, that was unbelievable. Yeah, that was unbelievable. Hey, I think next week we should do a Philly over everybody podcast.
I'm in it.
Can we do it? Can we do that?
We can definitely do it.
All right. There's my suggested theme for next week. Philly over everybody.
Can we let's do that, and then do a shared buddies watching you recap.
Okay.
Do you remember that one? Keith Jackson, tight end. Yeah, boy, quarterback's best friend. Yeah, come on, man. It's the best. You can hear Bruce every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WXPN. You can hear me every other Monday on Why Not Radio. I'm on this coming Monday. And then you can also hear the Yo That's My Jawn podcast, which returned for season 6 this past Monday with my interview with Corey Bernard. It's just a great conversation. And Corey's just the best. And
great guy.
And yeah, man, we're around. Follow us, like, subscribe, share it, tell it to your friends. And my friend Bruce, thanks for doing this again.
Peace out. See ya.
Too Old, Too New with Nate and Bruce is a Lonely Monk production, produced and hosted by Nate Runkle and Bruce Warren. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on your podcast provider of choice. If you have any music you think we should hear, or if you would just like to reach out to us, please feel free to email us at tooldtoonewmusicpod@gmail.com. And as always, thanks, and we will catch you next time.